Good. Why every time I go to turn off my phone, I accidentally keep taking screenshots on my phone. Okay. Has the podcast started? Oh, Crystal, the podcast is starting right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Therapy Sessions podcast. If you've been with us for a while, rebooted. We used to do a podcast. I think we did like somewhere between maybe 10 to 15 episodes before. This was like 2 years ago, in 2017. And then we kind of stopped, mainly because I moved and we didn't have the same team anymore. And I have been itching to bring the podcast back. So we are back. And it is the official Therapy Sessions podcast. Now, today I am alone on the podcast. So you're going to see me mainly rambling to myself like a crazy person. So nothing out of the ordinary. But I am currently live right now. I don't know if every podcast we're going to be doing is going to be live. This one in particular, because it is the first episode, I wanted to do it live. I wanted to do it alone, but I didn't want to talk just out loud to myself. So I'm currently live right now, and we're joined by 120 people. And so I'm going to be talking about some things. We're going to be doing some interaction. I'll be taking some questions. And this podcast, I have been testing it for many months now. I've been testing audio, I've been testing video, and some of you may have seen like I uploaded sort of like a pilot on SoundCloud, but it wasn't good enough. The audio quality wasn't good enough. And I had to get to a position where I wanted to really heavily invest in my setup. So I invested in a new light, in new mics, very expensive, hurt the wallet very much, but I'm doing it for you guys. And I wanted it to be clean from the get-go, because with this podcast, I want to do many great things, and I want to talk to and interview many great people. And I feel like the quality has to be there from the beginning for people to be interested. And I have actually filmed some backlog of podcasts. So I actually do have several podcasts and interviews with some people that may interest you. And so some things to look forward to coming forward in the podcast series. I did a podcast with Danny from DKDK TV. It was a late night podcast. So it starts off very lukewarm. We were kind of awkward. And then it becomes a very insane podcast, to the point where I think I have to actually cut out maybe 30 minutes of that podcast somewhere in the middle. I remember I say this to everyone I do a podcast with. I'm like, is there anything you don't want me to talk about? Is there anything you don't want me to ask you? Because I want to get to know you. And these podcasts is my excuse for wanting to get to know people. And Danny was like, no, you can ask me anything, open about anything. He got too open, and I was just like, I have to like cut this out, right? And he's just like, no, leave it in. And I'm like, at best, I was like, I can't make it public. I was like, this is, this will make you look bad. And then he was like, no, my viewers already know what I'm like. And I was like, yeah, but my viewers don't. And so it was an insane podcast. So I think there might be an uncut version on maybe Patreon that I'm not going to put out for the public. So I talked to Danny. I also did a podcast with Danny and David. And so from DKDK TV. So there's a difference between the podcast with Danny and the podcast with Danny and David. The podcast with Danny and David is getting to know Danny and David. It was about their channel, their career, how they got started and stuff like that. It was about getting to know them. Whereas the podcast with Danny was a lot more chill. And then we get into like really random topics. I did a podcast with, I don't think I can talk about that one. I did a different podcast as well. And then I did a podcast with Cameron Phillip. We were in the same area. So Cameron released a rap album recently. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but that rap album blew my mind. And so I interviewed him about the album and just like him as an artist and him as a YouTuber and transitioning out of reactions and stuff like that. So yeah, that was also a fun podcast. That's something to look forward to. And then I was going to do one with Dre from JRE KML. Unfortunately, so much work came up during the weekend that we were together. We did not, like, we planned to shoot it at a certain time, and this is what I can't talk about. A business meeting came up that completely consumed that time, and so we were unable to film a podcast. But one day I will have Dre on here, and most excitingly, I did an interview with Ashley Alicia. If you don't know who that is, Ashley Alicia is a music songwriter, producer who most famously produced 2 songs off of Luna's most recent XX album. She produced Satellite and Curiosity, and she did Satellite with David Amber, who, if you don't know David Amber has done Twice Is Yes or Yes, What Is Love, Heartshaker, Love Bomb by Fromis 9. He has done so much. And I do hope I can talk to David one day, because apparently they're friends. She also did the amazing Growing for Guru on the Kwon album, the Gawasna album, which, my God, when I did a first listen for that album, that was the song I fell in love with. And most recently, Oh My Girl had a comeback. And apparently she kind of dropped the hint before Oh My Girl actually even had a comeback that her song was going to be on Oh My Girl's album. So I don't know what she produced, because I literally checked out Oh My Girl's comeback today, the 5th season. I checked out the title track, which was phenomenal, by the way. Reaction for that's going to be coming out soon. And yeah, so I don't know what she produced on the album, but I'm definitely going to be doing a listening party for that song. So yeah, today we're just going to be talking. We're going to be chatting. I have been traveling for almost 2 months, and I'm sort of losing my sanity because I'm such an introvert, and my cat is purring in the background. I'm sorry if that's interrupting anyone. And it's been killing me to not spend most of my days at home. And, you know, I've just been backlogged on videos and all that shit. And, just to give you a tease on the interview I have coming out with Ashley Alicia, we talked about Satellite, which was my favorite song off the XX album. And I won't give you the full details, but it was raining when Ashley wrote Satellite. And it was actually kind of like the main inspiration behind her songwriting process for Satellite. So that's a little tease for you guys. Something to look forward to with the Ashley podcast coming up. And in particular with the Ashley podcast, it's going to be a part of the Therapy Sessions podcast, but occasionally I'm going to have special segments called ABC, Asians Being Creative. And it's going to be a segment where I highlight Asian American creators, you know, because I feel like Asian American creators, they don't really have a voice in this community and they really can't speak out. And so, you know, I want to provide as much exposure as I can, or what I can provide, you know? So yeah, that's something to look forward to. But anyways, I've been traveling for 2 months, and, you know, interviewing Ashley was part of it. Watched Avengers Endgame. That was a part of it. I wanted to do a challenge where I wanted to watch Avengers Endgame every day for a month straight. And I made it to 5 days. I watched the first one on the Thursday night premiere, and then I watched it every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then Danny and David came over and they kind of fucked it up. So I only got to see it 5 days in a row. But man, that was going to be my claim to fame. That was the mark I was going to leave on society. Like, I was hanging out. I was having lunch with Megan, who's in the chat right now, where I was like, I was like having lunch with her, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna dish you now because I'm gonna go watch Avengers Endgame again. So yeah, I only saw it 5 times in a row, but I'm gonna go see it again for sure. Every free opportunity I have, I am gonna go see Endgame because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And mind you, Avengers Endgame was only out 2 weekends and it beat Titanic's record. Avengers Endgame in 2 weeks, in 2 weekends, Avengers Endgame became the second highest grossing film of all time. So, just saying. That also cost a lot of money doing that. It was something. But yeah, I saw Avengers Endgame. I guess what started this whole travel thing was I went to New York, specifically Rochester, to visit React to the K. I was there for 2 weeks. Kevin was my roommate for a lot of the time. Got to know him very intimately. And I hope during KCON New York, I'm hoping to take this setup to New York, and I would love to do a podcast with Umu from React to the K, Kevin from React to the K, and whoever other YouTubers I can get. But yeah, I was there because I was filming a music video for React to the K, and right now that's sort of on a stall. But I hope that it picks back up. It's really on their end. They're doing like the mixing and mastering and all that. So I was there for 2 weeks. And then I don't know what I did in LA. I did some shit in LA again, and I was traveling again. And then recently we did a meet and greet. It was me, Dre from JREKML, Danny and David from TKDK TV, and X Celeste, aka Roseanne. We did a meet and greet together. It was fantastic. For the people who came out, thank you so much for coming out. And it took place during the BTS concert time at the Rose Bowl. And it's been like a week of BTS for me. I also went to an anime convention, and I will talk about that. That was also work. I did not go as an attendee. I went as a guest. But so I mean, what do you guys want to hear first? Do you guys want to hear my story about going to the anime convention, or do you guys want to hear my story regarding the BTS concert, the concert experience, or the BBMAs? Let me know in the stream chat what you guys would like to hear first. I mean, I'll talk about both either way, just because it's content, but I would like you to know. I would like to know what you guys want me to talk about first. Okay, most people are saying anime. Okay, so I went to the anime convention first, so I'll talk about that first. Let me tell you something about Kevin from React to the K. I don't know if any of you actually know Kevin or have seen him in videos. Kevin, you would not think it by looking at him, but when it comes to women, Kevin pulls. I mean, Kevin pulls. I spent 2 weeks with that guy, almost every day with that guy. And I see him out and about, and I see him talking to girls. It's not just that he has game, and it's not just that Kevin is really good with women. Like, I was just watching them. Like, I see like their body language, and girls want to lay with Kevin. To put it bluntly, girls want to fuck Kevin. I was blown away. I'm like, this guy, what is this magnetic electric charm that he has? I mean, I've always liked Kevin, not like that. He's not my type, but I was astounded. I was like, what is it about Kevin? You know, like girls are giving him free drinks. Girls are like literally like twisting their hair. Girls are like, I mean, I don't know what it is, man. Like literally, it's not even like just his personality. I think like within 30 seconds of talking to Kevin, immediately you can see women's body language. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like, You know, they say like within the first 30 seconds or a minute, women know if there is any potential that they want to date you in the future or not. And for all of these women, in the first 30 seconds, it's like, oh my God, she wants to do the nasty with him. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, someone in the stream said it's always the quiet ones. Yeah, it's always the quiet ones that are really, really evil or really, really hot, you know? So it's kind of crazy. And so the reason I'm prefacing that for the anime convention story is I was genuinely mystified by Kevin, and I was like, I've been watching you for a week, and like you have a way with the ladies. I'm like, how do you do it? And he's just like, it's just, you know, he didn't really have any advice, but he was talking about how like you have it too. You know, I was like, no, I do not. And he's like, listen, you just got to be confident. You just got to talk to people. And you know what? I admit I'm an introvert. I don't really put myself out there. I'm not very social. And so I knew we were both being guests at this anime convention together. So I was like, you know what? This, like next weekend, I am gonna try to meet people at this convention. Not like hook up with people, but I'm gonna try to meet people. Turns out I can't do that sober. So a lot happened. The first day, literally, I did my panel in the morning and I went straight back to my hotel and I spent the entire day in my hotel. And it was just a total waste of time. And so the second day, I was like, you know what? The only way I'm social is that I'm going to drink, and I'm going to start drinking. And so I started day drinking. Not a lot. I didn't get drunk right away. I started drinking periodically throughout the day. I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. And then by evening, I was drunk. Not like drunk, but like I was alive. You know what I mean? I was still fully aware of my faculties, but I was alive. It was really interesting. I was a lot more social. I was a lot more active. And here is how crazy it was. I crashed a panel that I had actually kind of ditched out of. So I was supposed to be a part of this games panel, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So the panelist, the moderator was like, okay, you don't have to do it. And I at this point I was drunk, and Kevin had to go to that panel because he was on the panel, and I was like, fuck it, I'll crash it, you know, fuck it, I'll join. Who cares even if I'm not a part of this panel? And turns out I came as a savior because Umu was on that panel, and the moderator, I don't know what happened. There was miscommunication, but the moderator wasn't there. Like, she didn't ditch them, but they were lost without their moderator. And it was supposed to be like let's play some fun games type thing. And Umu was just like, she was like, okay, everyone, let's play this game. And then like she turns to me and she's like, come up with some game ideas. Like she was like, apparently they had given her extra time on the panel. Like usually panels are like 40 minutes. She got a whole hour and a half because they're like, hey, it's going to be games, you know, you should have a lot of time. And so she was like, we're fucked. We have an hour and a half. And so I sat down, and it was me and Jared. If you guys don't know Jared, he is the trumpet player from React to the K. And we started like sort of brainstorming. And then he came up with a rock, paper, scissors fight idea. Like people just playing rock, paper, scissors, blah, blah, blah. And then I took it up a notch. I took it to an extra level. I said, okay, we're going to have a rock, paper, scissors tournament, but this is an anime convention. So I was like, but we're going to do it anime battle school style. So we took the whole room. There was maybe 50 or more people in there. We divided them in half. And so we had half of the room go to one side of the room, half of the room go to the other side of the room. And we started with one person. You had to walk out to the center of the room, And then every time you would have to point your finger dramatically at whoever you want, call them out and say, I challenge you. And then you challenge them, and then you play rock, paper, scissors, best out of 3. Now, here's the thing. If you lose the rock, paper, scissors, best out of 3, you join that person's posse. So let's say you and I play rock, paper, scissors. If I lose, I have to stand next to you, and forever, I have to keep cheering you on. All right? So this guy, he wins his first rock, paper, scissors battle. He gets one person. Challenges somebody else, beats them, they get another person. But if you have a posse of like 5 people, you lose, whoever wins, they absorb that entire posse. So by the end, by literally the end of this rock, paper, scissors tournament, there's like a crowd of 30 people with one leader challenging one person to a rock, paper, scissors fight. It was the most weirdest thing I had ever seen. And I literally blew my voice, because during that time I became that, you know, when you watch animes and shonen animes, there are those really ridiculous MCs that are screaming at the top of their lungs. I was that MC. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I was narrating every single part, and I was giving everybody random names based on their appearance or their costumes, like plaid shirt girl or blah blah blah. And only if you won, you could then either tell people your name and own your name, or you could go with a different name. You know, you could choose your own name. But if you're just a challenger, I gave you a random name. And then ultimately a guy that I called the Gunslinger. He was a really tall, cool looking guy, dressed sort of like a cowboy. He won, and it was so dope. The dude, he had full swagger. He was dressed like a cowboy, but like a cool cowboy, not like a cowboy, not like Woody from Toy Story, but like sort of like McCree, you know what I mean? But not McCree. And he was really cool. And he won. And then afterwards, we had 30 minutes left. And then someone said, you should do a dab contest. And then I was like, we should do a dab contest. And then for the second part of the games, we had a dabbing runway show. So what we did was we had everyone go to the sides of the room again. This time they would have to go to the back of the room and then walk down the room like a runway. So they had to walk down, like they had to strut confidently down the room like a runway. And when they reached the middle, they had to dab. And we would judge them based on the innovation of the dab, the creativity of the dab, the delivery of the dab. And so people would do the runway, they would dab, and then they would stand there and they would wait. And then me, Jared, and Peyton, also from React to the K, also a trumpet player, we would deliberate. And we had a giant white marker board. And so we would be like, oh, yeah, like, oh, yeah, like her delivery was good, but like whatever. And so then we would give them a score, and then we would write the score on the whiteboard. And then Jared would be like, oh, you know, based on your blah, 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 you know, we really like this and this. And so we give you and then I would hold up the giant whiteboard and be like, we give you a 9 or we give you a 7 or etc. And then by the end, what we did was we had like 5 or 6 people who were 9s. And then we did like a final round of only people that we gave a score of 9 out of 10 for. And then it was sort of like a finale. And then, yeah, that was it. I mean, that got so intense. There were some people, one of the people that won, what they did was they were like a 6'4" dude cross-playing as a sexy maid bunny, and he strutted and then did the splits and dabbed at the same time. It was insane. One person somersaulted in the air and then landed with a dab. It was incredible. It was the most outstanding thing I've ever seen, and I was honestly blown away. And then that was the end of that panel. And then that night, I kind of got social with a bunch of people, and you know, I got to talking to a bunch of people. And I was confident. I was going up to people. I was going up to girls and guys, introducing myself, trying to be as charismatic as I could. Oh, and ultimately, I was like, Kevin's a great wingman. He wanted me to find a girl, meet a girl, and, if that happened, that happened. But ultimately, and this is no offense to people who are anime convention goers, but this is what I experienced that night. They're just a little too wild for me. Not in like any weird sense of the word, but it was just like, I don't know. I was just like, this doesn't feel right for me. Like some of the people, I don't know. It's just like one of the stories that one of the girls was telling me was like how they went to this one other anime convention and there was a bunch of girls in a room and how they got all really high. And so they all decided to make out with each other. I feel like if you're maybe a teenage boy, you would be like, oh my God, that sounds so hot. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't want to date someone like that. No offense, your body, your choice. But at the same time, who I date is my choice, right? And I'm just like, man, I've always heard that people at conventions are super promiscuous. And I was just like, I'm not about that. I ain't about that life. You know what I mean? I want to be a casual dater, but not that casual. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like hard eject from this. So yeah, I mean, that was the end of my anime convention rowdiness. But it was interesting. And then after I got back from that, not too soon after, I had to go to the BBMAs. Now, the BBMAs, which is the Billboard Music Awards, I went last year, and last year was definitely a better experience than this year because the management from the BBMAs was kind of bad. There was a lot of miscommunication, but I can tell that they were trying their best. However, there were some people who were just, oh my God. But what really kind of ruined it was some of the attendees. People were cutting, people were cheating, people were lying. And what bothers me is how all of these people thought, just based on the conversations they were having, they think they're good people. You know what I mean? They think they had that thought of, oh, I'm not one of those crazy stans, even though they were acting exactly like it. They turned it on like a switch, Like, let me give you a perfect example. First of all, I went at the leisure of Roseanne, and we were part of Roseanne's group, and we were supposed to go in first. We went in first last year. We have connections where we were supposed to go in first, but there was huge miscommunication within the staff, and they weren't letting us in. And then they kept going around looking. They're like, who's in Roseanne's group? Who's in Roseanne's group? And I was like raising my hand. I'm like, because we all got split up because people were cutting. And then eventually they just kept asking who's in Roseanne's, because like Roseanne and like the employee lady, they kept missing each other. Eventually people caught on to the fact, oh, this Roseanne chick must be important. So people started raising their hands when they say, who's in Roseanne's group? At least 30 or 40 people raised their hands, and Roseanne's group was just, I know who's in Roseanne's group. It's me and our friends, like it's everyone we know. And so all of these people raised their hands, lied, and they got in line and they just filled up the pit by lying. They lied their way into the pit. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, whatever. And then we're still in line. And they're like, all right, we got to let the next section of people in. And then the people behind me, and not just directly behind me, they were maybe like 10 people behind me. So they were more behind me. They were nowhere close to the door. They started rushing the door, right? There's this one particular girl who's tall with glasses. She's rushing the door. and it was like at least 15 of them that rushed the door, and then the security guard's like, whoa, where do you think you're going? Did I say you could do that? Get back there. And then they got back in line, and then this girl with the glasses, she's saying like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, oh, I thought like there was a lot of miscommunication, you guys were being really vague. She was acting like such a calm, like, oh, sorry, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, she was being very, very neutral about it. But it was such a lie. It was such a facade, because the moment they left, she was like, oh my God, it's like, we'll just try again next time, or like, and then she would be having these conversations about like, oh, all those crazy stands out there. I'm like, that was you. She's like talking about like, oh, like all these stands are so crazy, they're so desperate to get in. I'm like, that was you. And like literally, there was another guy next to her, and he's just like, literally, they're just plotting. They're just like, you know what, next time they open the door, let's just rush it, and like whoever can get in, we can still get in. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And no names, but I saw someone there that I went to high school with. Like, she wasn't there with me or anything. She just happened to be there, and I see her occasionally at K-pop shows and stuff like that. I never said hi to her, just because I had the worst reputation in high school, and I didn't leave high school on good terms. But she was one of the people that rushed, or she cut, and I was just like, I was so disappointed in her, because I had so much respect for her in high school. She was really smart. Everybody liked her. She was charming and well liked, and she was genuinely a good person. And I see her cutting, and I'm just like, what are you doing, man? Like, at what point did you like, I don't know, at what point did you like start sacrificing your morals to, I don't know, for selfish gain? I don't know. I was really disappointed in her. And so we could not get into the pit. It was me and DK TV that got stuck in the outs. Every one of our other fans got in. And so me and DK TV, we're on the opposite side of the stage of where BTS is supposed to come out. And we're like, oh, maybe we'll, at least see like the sides of their faces or their backs or whatever. Only for the BTS performance. They brought out extra cameramen, and they formed a wall right across the stage, where we literally could not see BTS at all. We couldn't see them perform at all, because it was just a wall of cameramen. We were literally like, what the fuck? Like, literally, Danny and David were like, oh, maybe we can get some footage, and they were just going to use it in their vlog. No footage was possible, because it was literally just a wall of cameramen. If they do release a vlog, you should check out the view. I'm not kidding. We could not see BTS. It was insane. Oh my God. And also, when we were walking to the pit, Danny and David were in front of me. They were letting us in. And so we were walking in a line, and Danny and David are in front of me, and I'm walking behind Danny, and the security guard stops me. This fucking macho 6'1", slightly shorter than me, aggressive looking, I don't know, white guy, bald white guy. He's like, hey, you, where's your pass? And I was like, it's right here. And it's like, all right. And then I was like, okay. And then I walk up to Dan, and then I walk to the pit area, and I stand next to Danny. 2 minutes later, he comes up to me, and he's like, you, come here. I need to talk to you. He pulls me to the side, and he just starts swearing at me. And he's like, listen, if I see you wandering around one more fucking time, I'm going to kick you out. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's literally like, I know you were just wandering around. And I was like, no, I'm a part of this group. And he's like, I know you're not. And I was like, He's my friend. Like, literally, let me bring him and he will vouch for me. And so I know him. He's staying at my place. And he's like, no, he's not. And I'm like, it's the only 2 other Korean guys here. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm Korean. He's Korean. The rest are a bunch of white people or like non-Korean people. We're the only Asian people here. Who do you think I'm with? You know, it was like, is what I wanted to say. And it's like the one time I'm like, fuck, you know, why did the assumption not play out in my favor? Because I've been in situations where it's so awkward. I've been in like a market where I'm in line and then there's an Asian woman behind me in line. And then they're like, oh, do you want me to ring yours up too? Thinking that the Asian woman and I are together. And then I'm like, we're not together. And then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they look all embarrassed and shit. And I'm like, why the of all the fucking like racial stereotype shit I've ever been a victim to, why did it not work out for me in this instance, you know? And like, he's just like, listen, if I see you wandering around one more time, I'm gonna fucking throw you out. I'm like, okay. I would have honestly cursed him out because at that point, what could he do to me, right? But, you know, obviously I didn't want to get kicked out of the venue, but BBMAs was kind of terrible because of that. Not because of the billboards themselves. It was not because of the staff. It's not because of anything. It was just because the people were shitty. The fans that cut and tried to get in. And listen, like, it was such a sullying experience for me. And I was just, you know what, whatever. And the only upside was that I got to see the Jonas Brothers perform right in front of me. Fucking even Kevin Jonas impressed me. So like, Nick and Joe. So, Nick was performing, Jealous, his solo song in the middle of the room. So we're like looking all the way over there, and then Joe comes up and he's performing Cake by the Ocean with Nick. And then all of a sudden, Kevin, I guess, was behind us and we didn't know. And all of a sudden, you just hear a ringing of an electric guitar that goes, and then we all whip and he's right behind us. And then a burst of flames come up and then Kevin's doing like a sick guitar solo. And I'm like, Kevin Jonas? What? And then it was insane. And then Nick and Joe joined Kevin on stage and they're just fucking performing Sucker to like a bunch of fire, which I thought was a missed opportunity because there was all this pyrotechnics going on, like fire. It was real fire. Like every time the fires went up, we would feel the heat wave on our skin. Like I was like, oh, it's so warm. Missed opportunity to play Burden Up. How did they not? I felt like they should have performed Sucker and then they should have just like plot twist, Burning Up. And then I feel like the fans would have gone nuts. Because they didn't perform any Jonas Brothers songs. At least from their previous shit. But yeah, that was my BBMA's experience. And then a few days later, we did that meet and greet, which was fun. And then I went to the BTS concert. So we are getting into the BTS concert portion of the story. I went May 5th at the Rose Bowl. Phenomenal venue. Fantastic. I had a great view. You know, I wasn't like super close or anything, but I wasn't super far either. It was a really great view. And it was awesome because it was at nighttime. So there was like that nice cool breeze, even though there was a shit ton of people. So I wasn't like hot and suffocating at some K-pop shows, which happens a lot. So here's the thing. This was my first ever BTS concert ever. I've seen BTS live before, just at the BBMAs. I saw them perform Fake Love, but I have actually never seen them in concert. And seeing them in concert was a different experience. It changed my mind about everything on the Persona album. Like the Ed Sheeran song, Make It Right. I was like, sounds too American. It's whatever, you know? When I heard Make It Right live, walking away from that concert, that was the most addictive thing. Make It Right. I just kept humming, Make It Right. I don't know. It changed my mind about a lot of what I heard. And I thought it was one of the most wildest concert experience I'd ever seen in my life. Literally the opening act, there's like a giant maybe 50-foot tall inflatable jaguar statue. It looked like fucking Black Panther, where they had like giant like panther statues, like, or jaguar statues, like on both sides of the stage, and there's like fire, and they're performing Dionysus, and it was insane. It was crazy. Probably the big highlight for me was a couple things. J-Hope really surprised me. You know, I've liked J-Hope, but it's like I thought, wow, J-Hope is kind of on another level that I never really thought about, that the music videos never really showcase. There, and let me actually get into the impressions I got from each member. Best of Me is always amazing live. Oh my god. So they performed Best of Me live, which was hilarious. So during Suga's part, during his singing rapping portion, where he does "Could only take my hand right now, 이런 내가 믿기지 않아, 속으로만 스쳐 뻔했던 말했던 그 말 그댄 날 떠나지 마, 우와." Everyone was singing and rapping along to that, me included. So then he goes, "Ooh," and then he goes, "You got the best of me, you got the best of me," and then it gets like really, really fast, right? So everyone is singing and chanting and rapping along, and the moment it gets fast, it just everyone goes, haru, like literally everyone just stop. Like there's something so hilarious about everyone synonymously giving up. They're like, oh, that's too fast. Like it was like everyone kind of knew at the same time, yeah, I'm not rapping that part. It was hilarious. That was really funny. But yeah, so the best, so the impression I got from each member was, some of them didn't change really. Like RM, I just thought, wow, he's a really good leader. But I've always thought that about RM, but it was kind of solidified. Jimin, when I saw him live, I was like, I was honestly captivated by his beauty. I've always liked Jimin. Jimin's my favorite, but I was just like, oh my fucking god, he's actually so genuinely beautiful. I was like, oh my god, I don't know how to describe it. Just seeing him live is so different. I was like, oh my god, he is so beautiful. Like Jimin is, I feel like, largely masculine, but like he has certain like feminine features, like his eyes and like his smile. There's something like things that make him like, I feel like, very, very like unique, certain feminine features, certain androgynous features. And I was just like, he looks so elegant, was kind of the only word I could think of. And then J-Hope, the big impression I got from seeing J-Hope was he was born to be on stage. That man, his destiny was always to become a star. There was no other job J-Hope could have ever done because he was always destined to become a star. That is how amazing he was on stage. Honestly, no offense to anyone else, but I thought J-Hope was the best. I thought J-Hope was the best on stage. I thought he was the best performer. And I was just like, his showmanship is unparalleled. Out of every K-pop act I've ever seen, I feel like J-Hope is like the most comfortable on stage. And it felt more like, this isn't a BTS concert. This is J-Hope's playground, and we're here to just have fun with him. And it was insane. It was insane. And Suga, I had a very specific reaction to him. So when they perform Dionysus and then they go to introduce themselves, hi, I'm RM, and then they have and then they say like a thing. So here's how it all went. Everyone's all like, and then like it cuts to them. Then they see that it's on them, and then they smile, right? They're like, ah, or like whatever. Everyone has like some different reaction where it's some form of them smiling or like whatever. Cuts to Suga. He's just like sitting there. Looks up. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't smile. Just looks up. And everyone just starts screaming. He says nothing. His expression doesn't change. And my only thought is, that dude is so fucking cool. Only Suga can pull off not saying anything and people just go fucking insane. You know, and then he said something afterwards. And then he started smiling. But it was that initial, I don't know how to describe it. It's the first initial reaction where he's just like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I'm Suga, so what? You know, it's like that kind of like that energy of just like, yeah, his presence. Someone in the stream said presence. He has such presence. And then Jungkook looks like something like a blend of a chipmunk or a squirrel when he's not performing. He's so cute when he's not performing. I was like, oh, he's so cute, you know? He's so like, he acts goofy. He's like trotting around on stage. And the moment they perform, I'm like, Jungkook, what happened? Like, please calm down. Like I feel like he ages up like 20 years the moment he starts performing. When he started performing Fake Love, I'm like, I can't be watching this. I was like, oh my god, Jungkook is just like coming for me. And Jin was something else. Like literally, so the two people, when it cuts to their reaction, that was really the funniest was Suga because it was so cool. And then Jin is just staring, he's just staring directly into the camera. Like he's like, you know, Jin has his like really dark eyebrows, right? And he's giving the most intense look into the camera. And he's just going like this. And then he's just like, I'm worldwide handsome Jin. And then like, it's just, I think he had a flower. I think he had a rose. And then he throws it at the camera. And it was like a close up of his face too, which was even funnier. It was fucking hilarious. And speaking of Jin, speaking of continuing on impressions, my impression of Jin was, and I had this talk with like, so I hung out with some, not to brag, but I hung out with some K-pop insiders. And they also went to the BTS concert, and we were talking about how Jin had probably one of the most powerful performances at the concert. And I was like, absolutely. There was a Jin solo. Jin solo was, I think Jin had the best solo. Now, when I say I think Jin had the best solo, that doesn't mean Jin had the best solo, because I think everyone had the best solo. It was really difficult. V had a crazy ass solo. Everyone had a crazy ass solo. This was the problem going to the BTS concert. Everyone, I'm like, oh, okay, J-Hope had the best solo. And then RM comes out. Okay, RM had the best solo. And then Jungkook. Okay, Jungkook. Everyone had the best solo. You know what I mean? But the thing about Jin is that Jin, he did his ballad. And Jin, especially more than most, I mean, because it's a ballad, but his voice was so clear, and it was, his voice was so perfect, it almost sounded like a recording, but it had that live element to it, so you knew he was singing live, but it was almost like, what the fuck? Oh my god! Like, his singing was captivating. And there was this one moment I got chills. I almost started crying during Jin's performance. It's during the bridge, and it happens in his solo music video. You know that part where it's like raining, and then it stops, and then it reverses upwards in his solo music video? They did that live. So they have all these giant 100-foot monitors around him, and it's just like, it's like white light that looks like rain. It's like coming down behind him as he's singing. And literally he's just standing in front of the monitor. And again, this is nighttime, so it's pitch black out there except for these lights, except for the stage. And then all of a sudden, it does what the music video did. And it starts going upwards. The rain starts falling upwards. It reverses directions. And then, like, you know, the instrumental comes in, and again, it's the only light in the stadium, and I'm losing my fucking mind. It was the most mesmerizing. I was literally breathless. I was holding my breath. I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? And then there's literally a part where there's just like a pillar of light, and it looks like two doors leading to like, like the gates of heaven, and it's just like black, but just a pillar of light in between. And he's walking up toward the light. I was just like, and then Jin's wearing all white, and then there's just like a lot of like, I felt like there was a lot of religious themes or heavenly themes, and I'm like, are they insinuating that Jin is God? Because yes, like it was a transcending experience. And fucking Jimin was like a succulent. He was in like those glass globe things, like a plant. V, they did some crazy work with V where, when it's live stage, you're supposed to watch the people live, right? With V, you had to watch the monitors. They were doing these crazy things where live, in person, they were cloning not Jin. They were cloning V live. And V's solo thing where he's like dancing with that thing? He was dancing with himself. And I was like there was a red V and there was a green V, and I'm like, how are they doing this? And so live, he's just dancing by himself. He's performing to nothing. But if you look at the video monitor, he's dancing opposite of himself. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is this? What is this experience? And my impression and my impression that I got from V was a lot cuter live. I based on like what I see from like title tracks and stuff like that, I always like feel like, oh, V is like very like deep and moody and serious, and he's like the artistic one, And then I see them live. V is like smiling all the time. He's like super cute. He was like at Jungkook's level, kind of giddy, And I was like, what the hell? I didn't know V was like that. And then another performance that really stuck out to me. They did Trivia. Oh no, they did Tier. They did Tier, RM, wow, you came just in time. They RM, Suga, and J-Hope did Tier, and they did these video effects where literally like they'd go like this and it transitions into another person, and it was insane. And can I admit, I cried twice during the concert. I almost cried during Jin's performance. I was too breathless to cry. I almost cried during Jin's speech. Not Jin. Not almost cried. I cried during Jimin's goodbye speech, like when everyone says their own ment, and then I cried during Jimin's part, and then later Jimin is like kind of going off on his own, and they're performing their last song, and Jimin is crying, performing the last song, and I was crying. I started crying again when I saw that he was crying. It was, oh man, oh my god, it was insane. And it's crazy. And this is a true concert experience. No shade towards any company that puts on like the K-pop shows at the smaller venues. But what I experienced at the Rose Bowl with BTS, that is a true concert experience. Watching K-pop acts perform in like these small clubs, honestly, I feel like, no, that's not a true concert experience. And so I feel like BTS really set the bar, and I really hope that another group comes along and they also do something just as epic. But I don't know if they really can. And I will say one heartwarming thing is the production of this looked so expensive. They poured millions of dollars into this tour. And you know what? It is heartwarming to see that Big Hit is reinvesting into BTS. I mean, clearly, that they support BTS well, but it is nice to see the fruits of their labor shown in this concert, because one of the things that I found really, really, just nice is the fact that So many people, especially BTS, they have so many fans. You know, people pay money. People pay money. People buy loads of albums. People buy merch, BT21. People give so much money to BTS. And rightfully, Big Hit deserves to pocket, you know, whatever they pocket. You know, the members of BTS deserve to pocket that. But it's nice to see the fans' fruits and labors also being shown through the concert. They could have just thrown a normal concert. They didn't need all these effects. They didn't need all these props. Like J-Hope had moving stages. They didn't need any of this, but they did it anyways. And it feels like Big Hit flexing, but it also feels like a thank you to the fans. That's what this concert felt like. It felt more like a thank you than just a performance. It was like, hey, you guys brought us here, so let us put on a really amazing, crazy show for you. And I gotta say, it really showed. Honestly, props to Big Hit. That was wonderful and fantastic. I'm broke. I can't go nowhere. That is unfortunate. It does suck when you don't live in like a traditionally main touristy area for people to come visit and perform. Are you still recording? Yes, I am. I am going to be wrapping up, actually. We are over time. Oh my God, we're at 29 minutes. Okay, it's going to actually cut out real soon. So guys, I'm going to be wrapping up the podcast right here. Thank you for watching. Person in the chat, Crystal, thank you for reminding me. We're about to run out on time. But yeah, thanks guys for watching. The podcast is going to be weekly. So if you are on Patreon, you're always going to get the podcast a week early. So be sure to sign up for our Patreon if you want to see it early. That's patreon.com/formatherapy. Link is going to be in the description, but it's going to be every Monday. So be sure to tune into the podcast and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
And like I always take that as a really good sign.
Oh my God, me too.
Really? Yeah. It's a Korean thing, right?
Yeah, I think we see like the beauty and like kind of like this.
It feels like it's the right sign.
Yeah,
it's a good omen.
Yeah.
Like when you move into a new house and it's raining, apparently it's a good sign.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like the day I was born, I think it was raining. My mom told me too. Ooh. So I have like really a really weird connection with rain.
Wow.